Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Pakistan EdTech Summit. We just had an excellent conversation on disruptive technologies in EdTech. And now we've got an extraordinary gentleman. He's one of the pioneers in the field that he's working with. He is a mentor of mine. He's an institution in himself. Mr. Chaudhry Faisal Mushtaq, the founder and CEO of the Millennium Education. He's going to be speaking about the need for digital inclusion in education, platform or curriculum. What matters more? So Faisal, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Anza and the CxO Forum. I would like to congratulate the Pakistan EdTech Summit, the conference curators, the conference sponsors, and the vision, and to you, Anza, in particular. I've always said that we are living in these extraordinary times. The only constant that we have today is change. And I always say the only thing which is certain in a digital world is the digital uncertainty. So what really is digital uncertainty? Digital uncertainty calls for digital inclusion, it calls for ICT integration, and it calls for digital literacy. Being a national sponsor of the K-12 education across Pakistan, the pandemic has given us a new paradigm to scale, support, and to rethink the way we work and the way we teach and the way we learn. So we have always heard the concept that as we move forward, we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. But I feel that pandemic has been an opportunity and a blessing in disguise, which has sponsored a new era for digital inclusion. Now, what are platforms and how important it is as we move towards teaching and learning, as we move towards a knowledge society and a knowledge economy? Schools have always sponsored a knowledge society, and universities and higher education and research institutes have always sponsored a knowledge economy. So knowledge society and a knowledge economy needs platforms. Like I always say that in the digital ecosystem, in Pakistan, things are not happening. Things are happening. Everything is on an app. This concept of Food Panda, Zameen.com, Park Wheels, and the Uberization in education has created an opportunity and a business case for digital platforms to be inclusive in the teaching and learning modes and in provision. Now, what are these digital platforms? Are these the learning management systems? Are these the virtual learning environments? Or are these the Edmodos and are these the blackboards of education? No. What I mean from a digital platform, that you see technology also has authenticity. Technology has a moral imperative. Technology has an economic imperative. Technology has an ethical imperative. You must have heard the term ethical hacking, but how many times that we have heard about ethical technological practices? I mean, more or less, they're linked to each other. And also, we need to understand the economic considerations of technological engagement. Now, the digital platforms, what do I mean by the digital platforms? What I mean is that will technology be able to replace the teacher? Well, we have been hearing this. There has been a report by the Harvard, and for decades and years, we have heard that by the 21st century, in the beginning, technology shall be able to replace the teacher. So far, Anza, we have not seen technology replacing the teacher. However, the teachers, those who do not use technology, get replaced by those who do use technology. So what does it mean? It means technology and digital inclusion. Is it an enabler? Yes, it is an enabler. Is it a facilitator? Yes, it is a facilitator. Is it a platform, or is it a forum, or is it a form? It is a platform, and the platforms create the forums, and those forums have those forms. It's an entire journey. Digital inclusivity, digitalization, and an e-ecosystem, it's not a destination. It is a journey that organizations, growths, communities, governments, and society as a whole, we need to take, and we need to work towards that. And you cannot disenfranchise the concept of understanding the utility and an impact of your daily routine. May that be work, may that be your office, or may that be your professional life, or may that be your family, or may that be your prosperity. So, coming along, I must say that the future of education shall lie in a hybrid model where the curriculum and the learning outcomes need to be communicated through the digital platforms, learning management systems, but the one which are interactive, virtual learning environment, the one which is dynamic in nature, not static, and digital boards is something that we need to consider. I also say in Pakistan, it took us 77 years or so. We did a journey from the blackboard where we used to write with the chalk, and then we did a journey from the blackboard towards the whiteboard. And now is the time we need to journey towards the digital board. And these digital boards are always embedded by technology. They can only be reflected in its true sense if we remain inclusive. This term inclusivity is very important. A lot of people in Pakistan, they remain confused between diversity, equity, inclusion, and so on and so forth. So what is inclusion? Inclusion is involvement. Inclusion is engagement. Inclusion is the voice. Inclusion is the choice. Inclusion is extremely important for corporates, for businesses, from the HR regimes, for organizational growth point of view, and from the government and the policy makers and the stakeholders to consider. Now, when it comes to education, it has three aspects. It is a triangular relationship. One is the school curriculum. The other one is the school teacher. And the third one is the technology. So it is the teacher, it is the technology, and it is the teaching practices, the teaching content. So how do we manage this triangular relationship? We need to draw a circle on the triangle. Because you see, technology is the circle of life which would give you the opportunity to have the 360 view and perspective in your outcomes. Curriculum is a set of documents which talks about the pedagogical construct in teaching and learning. The pedagogy means the science of teaching and learning children. Similarly, andragogy means the science of teaching and learning adults. Now, the pedagogical construct, which is the constitutional framework of education, needs to be embedded with practices, with principles, with tools, and with skills. If we do not give children the skills for the use of the digital tools, they shall not be able to create the ideas and initiatives that will be responsible in making an impact on the planet and society. I've always said that students, parents, and teachers, they need to risk ideas to be able to gain rewards. It is the choices our teachers, our educators, and policy makers that we make today. It is the chances that we as a nation, we need to take. And it is our chance to be able to sponsor a more enabling and a more digitally inclusive environment. A curriculum needs to be there embedded online. However, there is a difference between taught curriculum and the written curriculum. The written curriculum is in the textbooks, what we hear and see, all these thick pages of the book, which many of us don't like, and especially after the pandemic, children are, they are disenfranchised with the process of vocabulary and language and literature. And then there is a taught curriculum. Taught curriculum is not exactly what is there in the written curriculum. Taught curriculum is the one which is based on exploration, which is based on experimentation, which is based on engagement. So project-based activities and activity-based learning and technology-enabled initiatives should be promoted so that young people can find solutions to the emerging threats to the planet. And there is no one single document which puts all those emerging challenges to the planet than the United Nations global commitment to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that we are committed to. Those 17 goals talk about humanity, talk about compassion, talk about governance, and talk about individuals and society. With the mind, we must have international mindedness. And as we talk about globalization, and while talking to the millennials, we must understand that there could be no global mindedness unless and until we do not have a digital mindedness. So, as a takeaway, you must understand that digital mindedness is not just a choice, it is a way of life. We have challenges vis-a-vis in the country in terms of digital access, in terms of digital equity, and in terms of digital connectivity, and in terms of digital outreach. Meaning, not all people are online. Out of a population of 220 million, more than 70 million people are online. They do have access, but we also need to consider ideas for M-learning on top of the e-learning. So E means through internet, and M means then mobile-based application learning. A mobile penetration in Southeast Asia is the largest, and for developing countries to solve our social problems of health, education, literacy, and social welfare, and poverty alleviation, and microfinance, and small and medium enterprises, and digital payment gateways, and digital banking. I think it's so important that we must promote and create an enabling school curriculum which prepares young people and as citizens and as graduates to go enter an economy where they'll go find solutions through the digital transformation methods and tools. Technology, technology shall always remain disruptive. There is this term that there is disruption in the marketplace. I think disruption, the meaning of disruption equals technology, is just another name. Like they say, Winston Churchill once said that one day is a big deal in a democracy. So that means that in 24 hours in democracy, a lot many things can happen. Similarly, I would say, I ain't Winston Churchill, but I am Faisal Mushtaq. I would say 1 week is a big time in the world of technology. Technology shall always be denominated by disruption as we speak about codes and algorithms, and as we talk about robotics, scientific advancements, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. And so we should move up from the ladder where our parents used to tell us that, okay, we are digital immigrants, and children, you are digital natives. Now the story and the legacy between the natives and the immigrants should stop. No one is an immigrant anymore, and no one is a native. This is a doctrine of necessity. This is called digital necessity. And may that be communication, may that be learning, may that be lifestyle, or may that be in making a socially responsible impact on the economy and the communities that we serve. So when I talk about platforms or curriculum, what matters more? This is a big question. It does not have a right answer. My job is to provoke, and my job is to disrupt the thinking through the CxO Global Forum, through the thought leaders, to the trailblazers, and to the policymakers, and all these corporate gurus representing these startups and these e-commerce businesses and brands that you talk to. A lot many people talk about their industry specific digital innovation. So the e-commerce people, the bank guy, and the communications company, the advertising company, everyone has a story to tell. Great. These stories are all BISCOP stories. They are industry or brand specific stories. As a thought leader in education, I will request the industry to invest in cross-cutting technology. In education, there is a term multidisciplinary. It means two different subjects, maths and physics, are multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary education is different. Transdisciplinary education means different. Transdisciplinary means more than two subjects. So similarly, in the educational technology world, people must invest in transdisciplinary or in trans-industry digital innovation on products and services. What do I mean? Cross-cutting technologies. They should be ready to use. These days, when you go to the shop in lawn, they are the lawn suits that you get, they are unstitched. People pick them up and then they stitch them according to their comfort, size, and their style. Same needs to come up in the industry. People are not doing collaboration. CxO Global Forum is one such opportunity where I have seen Pakistani startups, hot business and industry leaders have come forward to collaborate. But still at the moment, their success stories and collaborations, including us as the education sector, our collaborations are not inclusive for the net gain of the GDP of a nation. So if I have one message, my message is that we as an industry, as a society, all stakeholders, including myself in education, corporate sector, development sector, public policy, community, e-commerce, telcos, and the media companies, and the digital payment gateways ecosystem, and so on and so forth, we must create off-the-shelf products, readily available platforms, open source content. There is this word Microsoft uses. It talks about no code, low code, no coding or low coding. So, our development mindset is front end, back end, Oracle, whatever we talk about, we need to use and promote open source digital platforms and give our people the practices and the skills. I mean, gone are the days, Anza, where you hire one person as a graphic designer and the other person as a communications manager. The communications manager should have the skills of a graphic designer. Adobe is no rocket science, and so is the other digital platform of what do you call it, or the Excel, the other digital platform of just like the what do you call it, the Coral, yeah, I mean Coral. So what I mean to say is that, you see, you can't, the jobs of the future, we don't even know. So the skills need to be cross-cutting, and market needs to come up with products for my industry, education, and they should not just be content rich, they should be content basic. So too much of fashion is not in fashion anymore. What is in fashion? Less is more is in fashion. My message to the industry, if you want to create an impact, collaboration is something that we need to work together. Low code, no code products and digital solutions should be available on the market. Integration, learning, and creating forums for connectivity and networking is critical. Industry knowledge and ideas and research is also fundamental, and best practices must always be showcased. So, need for digital inclusion in education. Platforms or curriculum, what matters more? Both. The future is the one which is a hybrid model, and it is not just that it will be an EV, it will be a plug-in hybrid, so that it can work both on the fuel and on the electricity. Thank you.
Beautifully summed up, Sir Faisal. You have indeed hit the nail on the coffin there. You've answered most of the questions that we were getting as part of the comments. But here's an interesting, food for thought. And upon an ending note, we only have 2 minutes left. But sir, a lot of times you spoke about inclusion. You have been a sponsor of change. You've also been part of the interim government as the Minister for Education. What are we doing for the inclusion, and rather digital inclusion, of kids who are out of school?
That's a very good point, Anza. That's, that's so, such a sensitive point. As a society, we do have sympathy, but as a nation state, we are lacking empathy. Out of 220 million, 22 million are out of school, as per the international report. And we are the second biggest out of school children population after Nigeria.
Unfortunately, yes.
2 crore 20 lakh students are out of school. After 18th Amendment, education is the provincial subject. So education ministers in each province and the secretary education, they are the key drivers for change. So we need more advocacy, we need more literacy initiatives, we need a better communication strategy, a package deal. We need awareness, and we also need to sensitize through the cultural ecosystems, which may include using mosque as a tool to inspire people and family, both for family planning and also for education and literacy. We need to encourage our women and young girls to come forward. We need to have better schools. There's hardly any investment in infrastructure and development. And the populist ministers, they talk about single national curriculum. What good is uniformity? What good is enforced uniformity in absence of informed unity? I mean, how can you as a nation state deprive your own public provision of the basic facilities and amenities which are enshrined to them as per the basic human rights? So we need clean washrooms for students. We need health and hygiene facilities for our young girls. We need trained teachers. We need school walls. We need playgrounds. And we need implementation. There is nothing wrong with the Pakistani school curriculum. There's a whole generation. I did my metric and I did FSC. And today we sponsor international education from Cambridge to IBs. And I take immense pride in the qualification of SSC and HSSC and so many outstanding people, Anza. Like I always give an example, the Islamabad Model College of Boys, it sponsored a boy called Adil Najam, who later became the Vice Chancellor of Lums University. Right. So public sector provision, if we talk about our parents, they've had the best of education. So state should do its job and they should not interfere in the private sector. They should put their house in order and should not come out with regulatory pressures through the populist agendas of single national curriculums. And they should focus in getting children out and then put them back in school. Here, our politicians, and finally, Anza, our politicians, they do metro, they make a metro bus authority. They make a motorway, they make a motorway authority. They do something else, they make an authority. In England, in Europe, they have missing school children authority. In every borough, in every council, in Bradford and Leeds, in Birmingham, they have missing school children authority. What does it mean? It doesn't mean the missing person like Pakistan. It means that the children, those who are not going to school, if they've gone on a holiday with their dadi in Mirpur, Azad Kashmir, the Birmingham School Council Missing Children Authority would call us. They will say, oh, look, Alize and Shamir from Birmingham School in Solihull, they told us they've gone to Mirpur, Azad Kashmir. Can you please confirm, are they attending your school? And we tell them, sorry, they're not attending our schools, or maybe they are. So they find every child where they are in the world. And here our authorities are looking at other aspects of infrastructure. There's nothing more important than the human capital. The biggest capital a nation state can have for its progression and development is called the human capital. And I'm so happy that, outstanding and amazing young woman like yourself is promoting equity, opportunity, and change in society. Nation and society and a country needs more champions of change like yourself, Anza.
Thank you very much, Sir Faisal, for your time and hard-hitting facts, thought-provoking opinions. Sir, it has been an honor. For those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who want to learn more about the kind of work that Sir Faisal Mushtaq is involved in, we've shared some links in the description below. Do get in touch and do join hands with this sponsored change. Thank you so much, Sir Faisal. Up until next.